Okay, so we're gonna do the first thing you want to check is ask the instructor to help you check the lights. Right after you check the lights, we're gonna be working on this section of the test. So we're gonna start by checking the passenger door, under the fuel area. We're gonna check the frame, the rear axle, the tires, and we're gonna finish up with the tail lights. We also want to check the coupling devices. So we're gonna start off by checking the door. Make sure that the door is easy open, easy close. It shouldn't have any cracks or holes. So we open the door. Right after we open the door, we're gonna check the weather stripping. We wanna make sure that the weather stripping has no cuts, no tears, no holes. That will prevent any air or water from leaking inside the cab. Then we're gonna check the passenger door. Wanna make sure that the door hinges should be properly secure with no missing bolts, no cracks or bends, and no illegal welds, and make sure they're working properly. So we close the door. Now we check the mirrors and the mirror frames. We want to make sure that the mirror frames are properly secured to the door with no missing bolt. They shouldn't have any cracks or bends. Then we go to the mirrors. Make sure that the mirrors are clean, they're not cracked, broken, and no illegal stickers, and they should be adjusted so you can see your trailer before you trip. Then we check the steps. Make sure that the steps are securely mounted with no missing bolt. It shouldn't have any cracks or bends, and no grease and no oil. From here, we're gonna go into the diesel tank or the fuel tank. This truck has the fuel tank on the other side, so we want to make sure that the fuel tank is securely mounted with the straps. These straps are not cracked or bent, and no illegal welds and no missing bolts. Then we go into the diesel tank itself. Make sure it has no cracks, no bends, no illegal welds, and it's not leaking, and it should always be secure with the cap at all times. Once again, if the fuel tank is on the other side, you don't have to go. You can just say it from here. After that, we're gonna come over here and we're gonna check the exhaust system. The exhaust system should be properly secured with the strap, no missing bolt. It's not cracked or bent, and make sure it not leaking any carbon. If it's leaking carbon, it needs to get fixed immediately. After that, we're gonna go to the catwalk. We wanna make sure that the catwalk is securely mounted with no missing bolt. It's not cracked or bent, and no grease and no oil. It should always be clean and free of debris. Then we go into the frame. Make sure that the frame is straight. It has no cracks, no bends, no illegal welds, and no extra holes. Under the frame, we have the drive shaft. Make sure that the drive shaft is straight. It has no cracks, bends, or illegal welds, and it should be secured to the universal joints. The universal joints should always be greased and no missing bolt. It should always be clean and free of debris. We have one here and we have one in the front, right here. Right after the U-joints, we're gonna come out and we're gonna check our quarter fender. We wanna make sure that the quarter fender is securely mounted to the frame, no missing bolt. It shouldn't have any cracks or bends, and make sure that we have enough clearance in between the tire and the quarter fender. That's gonna bring us down to our rear axle, and we're gonna start with the tires. We wanna make sure that the tires have no less than 2/32 of tread depth, and the tire pressure shouldn't be less than 100 PSI. We checked that with the high pressure gauge. We also wanna make sure that both tires are evenly wear out, and they have no cuts, no tears, no bubbles, and make sure they're not leaking any air. We gotta check the tires, make sure they have no spacing between the tires and the rim. Make sure it's not leaking from here, no gaps. Then we go into the rim. So we're gonna check our rims, make sure they're not cracked, they're not bent, no illegal welds, and no extra holes. The lug nuts, they should be secure and tight and non-missing. Always look out for rust, because rust is a sign they might be loose. Then we check our axle hub seal. Make sure it's filled to the right level, it's not leaking, and it should be properly secure with the bolts at all times. Then we check our air valve or valve stem. Make sure it's straight, it's not bent, and it's secure with the cap with no leaks. Now, right after we finish here, we're gonna come in here and we're gonna make sure that in between the tires, it should be clean and free of debris. It shouldn't have any bottles, no rocks, nothing that can fly away as we're driving. Now, behind this second rim, we have the brake drum behind the rim. We want to make sure that the brake drum is not cracked, bent, and no illegal welds, and it should always be clean with no grease and no oil. Inside of the brake drum, we have the brake shoes. Make sure that the brake shoes are not cracked or broken, and they shouldn't have less than 1/4 inch of thickness. If they have less than 1/4 inch, we need to replace both sides. Right after that, we keep checking our brake system. So we go into the brake chamber. The brake chamber should be properly mounted and secure with the clamp. Make sure it has no cracks or bends or illegal welds and no leaks. The clamp should be secure with the bolt at all times. Then we check our brake chamber hoses. Make sure that the brake chamber hoses are properly secure on both sides. They have no bubbles, no cuts, no tears, and no leaks. Behind the brake chamber, right here, we're gonna have the slack adjuster, which is always at a 90-degree angle. Make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's secure with the bolts and no missing pins. Then we have the push rod. Make sure that the push rod is not cracked, bent, or broken, and it shouldn't have more than 1 inch of free play. It should be properly secure. After the push rod, we're gonna come and we're gonna check our suspension. So we go into the leaf springs. Make sure that the leaf springs are straight, they have no cracks, no bends, no illegal welds, and not shifted. They should be secured to the leaf spring hanger. We want to make sure that the leaf spring hanger is securely mounted to the frame, no missing bolt. It shouldn't have any cracks, bends, or illegal welds. We have one here, and we have one on the back. Then we're gonna check in the middle. We have a spacer. Right in there, we have a spacer and the 2 U-bolts. Make sure that the spacer is not cracked or bent, and it's secure with the 2 U-bolts. The 2 U-bolts should be straight, no bends, no illegal welds, and no missing nuts on the bottom. From there, we're gonna go to the back of the tires, and we're gonna start by checking the shock. The shock should be securely mounted to the frame with no missing bolt. It should be straight with no cracks or bends and no leaks. Then we go to the airbag. We want to make sure that the airbag is securely mounted to the frame, top and bottom. It has no cracks, no bends, and no missing bolts. The airbag itself has no cuts, no tears, no holes, and it's not leaking any air. Then we check the mud flap. The mud flap should be secured to the frame with no missing bolt. Make sure the mud flap has no tears, no holes, and make sure it's 4 to 6 inches off the ground. And over here we have the tail lights. So we want to make sure that the tail lights are all working properly. They're not cracked, they're not broken, and no missing covers. We want to check that the red light is for the marker light. It's for the signal lights, the 4-way flashers, and the brakes. The center one is for the reverse, which is the clear light. They should all be working properly. That's the section B from the door all the way to the lights, but we got to finish it up with the coupling devices. So we come to our service line. We're going to start off by checking the blue line, which is the service line. The red one is the emergency line. They are both secure to the connectors with no cracks. And make sure it's not leaking, and it's secure with the bolts. Both of the lines shouldn't have any cuts, tears, or bubbles, and no leaks. And both lines should be secure to the glad hands on the trailer. We want to make sure that the glad hands are not broken, no missing bolt, and they're not leaking any air from the rubber seal. Make sure it's not torn or has no cuts or tears. Right after that, we're going to check the green line, which is the electrical line. It should be secured to the pigtail on the tractor with no missing bolt, and always secure with a cap. The line itself has no cuts, no tears, no frays, and no copper wire shown. And it's secure to the other pigtail on the trailer. It shouldn't be missing any bolt, and always secure with the cap. All 3 of the lines should be secure with the hanger. That way they're not dragging, they're not getting tangled or pinched on the catwalk. That's it for the Airlines. Then we go into the fifth wheel. First thing we want to check on the fifth wheel is the top portion, which is the apron. The apron should be straight with no cracks, no bends, no holes, and no illegal welds. Then we check the fifth wheel skid plate, which is this one. It should be properly mounted and secure with no missing bolt or pins right here, and no cracks or bends and no illegal welds. There should be no space in between the apron and the skid plate. It should always be greased for easy turns. Then we come down and we check the sliding fifth wheel locking pins, which is this part right here. It should always be in the locking position right there with the pin. It shouldn't have any cracks, bends, or illegal welds, and it shouldn't be missing any pins. Right here, they shouldn't be broken. Then we're gonna go to our platform. We wanna make sure that the platform is securely mounted to the frame with no cracks or bends or illegal welds, and make sure that the mounting bolts are properly secure and tight. They're not broken. Then we're gonna go inside of the fifth wheel. We're gonna be checking 2 parts in here. We have a kingpin and we have the 2 locking jaws. Make sure that the kingpin is straight. It's not cracked, it's not bent, and no illegal welds on it. It should be secure with the locking jaws always in the locking position, not cracked, bent, or broken, and always greased. Right after that, we're gonna come out. And we're gonna be checking our release arm. This is the release arm. If you pull this lever, it'll open up the locking jaws. So it should always be in the locking position. It shouldn't be cracked, bent, or broken. Right? It should be properly secure. Right after that, you tell the instructor this truck has no safety latch, And we want to make sure we have enough clearance in between the landing gear and the frame for making sharp turns.